In this tutorial, I'm going to talk to you guys about the built-in modules in Python. So Python comes with a standard library that contains several modules for common tasks such as sending emails, working with data and time, generating random values and passwords, and so on. There are so many modules already built into Python. And that means there is already lots of functionality that we can reuse. We don't have to code all of that from scratch. Let me show you where you can find this standard library. So open up your browser and search for Python 3 module index. Make sure to add the version number because the modules in Python 2 are different from modules in Python 3. So here we search for Python 3 module index, and the first page here, you can see it's Python module index for Python 3. Let's go ahead. So these are all the modules built into Python. For example, we have modules for working with data and time. We have modules for sending emails, for encoding values. There are so many modules here. Now, the explanation of all this is beyond the scope of this course. That really requires its own course because we have so many modules here. But don't let this list intimidate you. This is not something that you need to learn right now. As you work with Python, as you build more applications, gradually you will get more familiar with various modules here. In fact, nobody knows all the modules in Python standard library. Everybody knows some modules based on the applications they have built. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use one of the built-in modules for generating random values. So on the top, we import the random module. Now, because random is a built-in module, we don't need to have a file here called random.py. So Python interpreter knows that random is a built-in module and it knows where to find it. Now, if you're curious where this random module is stored on the disk, let me show you. So here in the project panel, expand external libraries, then expand Python 3, and then one more time, Python 3.7 library root. So this is a folder somewhere on your computer. In this folder, we have all the built-in modules in Python. So if you scroll down, you should be able to find the random module. There you go. It's right here. So random.py. You can open this and this shows you the source code of this module. There you go. Now in this tutorial, we don't want to worry about that. So let's go back to our app.py and use this module to generate random values. So when we import this module, now we have this object random. So we can use the dot operator to access its methods. One method that is very useful here is the random method. And every time we call it, it generates a random value between 0 to 1. So here we can do a for loop. Let's say for I in range 3. So just to refresh our memory, we are using the range function to create a range object. We can loop through this range object, and in each iteration, this object will spit out a value. So with this for loop, we can execute this code 3 times. Now let's indent this. Okay. And finally, let's print the result. There you go. So we can see that in each iteration, we get a new random value between 0 to 1. Now, what if we want a random value for a particular age? Let's say random values between 10 to 20. Well, there is another method here, randint. We pass 2 arguments here to specify our range. Let's say 10 and 20. Run our program one more time. Now we have the numbers 20, 13, and 18. If we run our program one more time, we get different values. So 20, 19, 11, one more time. Look. We also have another powerful method for randomly picking an item from a list. Let's say we have a list of team members and we want to randomly pick someone as the leader. Let me show you how to do that. So we define the list of team members. We set it to John, Mary, Bob, and Mosh. Now we can call random the choice and pass our members list. This method randomly picks an item from this list and returns it. So we can store the result in leader and then print it on the terminal. Let's run our program. So now the leader is Mary. If we run our program one more time, this time it's Mosh. Now it's Mosh again, one more time. It really likes Mosh. Now it's Bob. You got the point. So the random module is very powerful and it has a lot of applications. Now here's a very cool exercise. I want you to write this program to roll a dice. So every time we run this program, we get different values. Now we have 3 and 1. Next time we get 3 and 6. One more time. 5 and 6. 4 and 3. Double 1. That's a very cool exercise. So before we get started, I want you to pay attention to a few things. I want you to define a class called dice. In this class, we're going to have a method called roll. So every time we call this method, we get a tuple. A tuple, remember, is a list of values, but that list cannot be changed. We cannot add a new item to it. We cannot remove it. So it's like a read-only list. So every time we call the roll method, we should get a tuple of 2 random values. So go ahead and do this exercise. You'll see my solution next. All right, we start by importing the random module on the top. Then we define a class called dice, colon. In this class, we want to have a method called roll. So define roll, parentheses. This automatically adds self. Now, in this method, we want to generate 2 random values between 1 to 6. So we call random.randint and pass 1 and 6. So this generates the first number. We can put that here. Now let's call this one more time. So I'm going to copy what we have on line 5, put it here, and change this variable to second. So we have 2 variables, first and second, with 2 random values. Finally, we need to return them in a tuple. So return parentheses instead of square brackets, first and second. Now in Python, when you want to return a tuple from a function, you don't have to add this parentheses. So you can simplify your code, and Python will automatically interpret this as a tuple. Okay? So we're done with the definition of our class. We remove the indentation and add 2 line breaks. Now we create an object of this type. So we set dice to dice. Next, we roll the dice, so dice.roll, and print the result on the terminal. That's all you had to do. Let's run this program. So now we get 2 and 5. Let's run it one more time. 3 and 2, 1 and 1. Beautiful. Now we have this little warning here that says expected 2 blank lines, found 1. Once again, this is coming from PEP 8. PEP is short for Python Enhancement Proposal. We have so many Python Enhancement Proposals, or PEPs. PEP 8 is a very famous one. And in this document, we have all the best practices for formatting our code. So PEP 8 says that after we define our classes, we should have 2 line breaks. We already done that. So the reason this is complaining is because we have 1 line break before the class. So let's add 1 more line break. Now PyCharm is happy. So basically PyCharm is following all the best practices defined in PEP 8. Now you don't have to memorize any of these best practices. As you code in PyCharm, PyCharm gives you little warnings, and gradually you will learn how to properly format your code so it's readable by other people.